Hello and welcome back to the RDA, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing well. It's Triple M back with another video. It's about Paul Pogba this time, and it's not going to be a Pogba in or Pogba out video. It's going to be more taking an objective look at Paul Pogba as a player and whether or not he should stay at Manchester United, weighing up how Manchester United have treated him, where his skill and talent as an individual ranks up, and whether or not I think he has the right mindset to stay a Manchester United player, and what I think are some of the potential options for him to look forward to in terms of staying at the club or potentially moving on. So do hit that like button and do subscribe if you are new, but yeah, let's get into it, man. Now, it is no surprise to Manchester United fans that when Paul Pogba goes off on international break, there is always negativity and controversy surrounding some of the comments that he makes. And look, all I will say about Paul Pogba is, look, he's not an idiot. He is not stupid. He knows what he is doing. He is an intelligent footballer and he speaks his mind, but he knows that his words have a bigger impact than, most footballers out there. And time again, this time he didn't talk about going to Real Madrid, but he did say something along the lines of France being a breath of fresh air. So training with the French squad is a breath of fresh air, and it's in a way a sort of escape from the negativity surrounding his career at Manchester United. Now, there's a lot of ways to interpret this. There really is. You can interpret it negatively and say that Paul Pogba is basically looking for a move out of Manchester United and he's unhappy at Manchester United. Fair enough. Or you could take a look at it and say this is a player who's just genuinely struggling and openly speaking about that struggle and just expressing how much of a breath of fresh air it is to play with a different group of players. If it was the other way around, let's just say it was the other way around. Let's just say he was struggling at France and playing for Manchester United was a breath of fresh air in another world. It doesn't necessarily mean that he doesn't want to play for the French squad anymore. It just means that he's struggling with the French squad because of his personal performance. Does that make sense? I don't know. I feel like people are jumping on the Pogba hate bandwagon a bit too much. I myself am a Pogba out kind of guy. I don't want Pogba at Manchester United anymore, but I don't want to use my confirmation bias to automatically assume everything that Paul Pogba says is meant in a malicious and vindictive way towards the club. So I try to be objective, which is what I'm doing right now. So yeah, let's move on from that comment. Few things I want to discuss in this video. Is Paul Pogba world class? Now, this is a debate that I've had with many people. Is Paul Pogba world-class or not? And I've heard something along the lines of, on his day, he's a world-class player. Some people say he's a virus, he's not world-class, he's too inconsistent, blah, 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 blah. Well, let's break down the definition of what the word world-class means. To be a world-class player, in my opinion, based on how I judge it, is to be consistently better than most players in league or country or your region or your continent, to be consistently better in terms of performance than 90% of the players around you. That's what a world-class player is to me. It is the very best of the best, the highest skill bracket. Messi and Ronaldo are in a skill bracket of their own, or at the top of that skill bracket, and just below or in the middle of that skill bracket is players like Robert Lewandowski, players like Neymar, Erling Haaland at the moment, etc. Right? That is a world-class player to me. The reason why I don't think Pogba is world-class is because he hasn't consistently performed in a Manchester United shirt. Now, Paul Pogba is a very talented footballer, but talent alone does not make you a world-class player. Technical ability alone does not make you a world-class player. You need to have the mindset and the decision-making and the intelligence, the experience, the leadership to actually make the players around you a little bit better or be a standout performer yourself. Now, I'm not saying Paul Pogba should grab the game by the scruff of the neck every single game he plays for Manchester United. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is he shouldn't be losing the ball. He shouldn't be giving away silly penalties. He shouldn't be missing key passes. He should be doing the simple and fundamental things to absolute perfection, or should be looking better than everything we've got. And at the moment, fam, he doesn't even get into that team beyond McTominay, Fred, Bruno, and Van der Beek, fam. Even an argument for Matic. So that is why I don't think he's world-class. I think he's a very talented footballer and he has the potential to be world-class. Don't mention his World Cup. Please don't mention his World Cup. Olivier Giroud has a World Cup. So many players that have nothing, no arguments, no debate of being near world-class have a World Cup. If you need N'Golo Kante next to you, players like Griezmann in front of you, Varane behind you, to be a world-class player, then my friend, you are not world-class. You were just playing well in a team that's world-class. Ronaldo doesn't need Kroos behind him, Modric behind him, Bale next to him, Benzema next to him, and Isco behind him, and Varane behind him, and Ramos behind him to be a world-class player. Ronaldo's been world-class throughout his whole career. So there's levels and there's difference. Lewandowski was a good striker when he was at Dortmund. He's a phenomenal striker when he's at Bayern Munich. Yes, he got better because the players around him are better, but it's not like he wasn't a good striker when he played for Dortmund with lesser players, right? Like, there's so many examples in world football of players who are consistent even without having good players around them. Those are world-class players, not players who just play well when they've got good players around them. That's not the definition of a world-class player. Like, that's never been the definition of a world-class player. Now, before this video gets out of hand, before this video gets too ranty, I do want to talk about the side that the side of the argument that Manchester United haven't done right by Paul Pogba. And yeah, Paul Pogba's form, Paul Pogba's inconsistency is not completely down to Paul Pogba alone. It is down to the way he's United, mainly by the club itself, but also by the fans. And I'll talk about those two elements in a moment. Let's start with the fans. I think the fans abuse Paul Pogba way too much. Way too much. Like, the guy's playing for France and you have United fans debating over him. Love Paul Pogba or hate Paul Pogba, he's one of the most polarizing figures, and it seems like everybody's got to have an opinion on him if you're a Manchester United fan, which I don't get. If you don't like the guy, why are you watching him play for France just so you can criticize when he has a bad game? Also, why when he has a good game do you then, instead of applauding him and saying, I wish you could play like that for Manchester United in a kind and positive way, why do you have to then turn that into, oh, look at how much he tries for France, he doesn't try like that for United? I don't get that. I honestly don't get that. Manchester United players, we are supposed to support them. Yes, we can criticize them, but when that criticism turns into abuse and negativity towards the personal individual, even when they are performing well for other teams or in other areas of their career, is absolutely unjustified and unnecessary. And it's a trend in modern football, you know, because back in the 80s and the 90s, yes, players used to get their fair share of abuse at the stadium, at the ground, but not at home, because there was no such thing as Twitter. Nowadays in social media, there's an opportunity for everyone to have an opinion. 24/7, 365, everyone has an opportunity to at Paul Pogba and just abuse the man. Abuse the man. He's not even playing for Manchester United and we're having a debate about whether or not he should stay at the club. Imagine that, bruv. It's ridiculous. So the fans have absolutely been a disgrace by Paul Pogba. And you know which fans I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the fans who criticize him. I'm not talking about the fans like me who just genuinely want him to move on for his own sake and his own career and for Manchester United's sake. No, I'm talking about the ones who call him evidence. There is no evidence to suggest that Paul Pogba is a divisive figure in the dressing room. There is no evidence to suggest that Bruno Fernandes, Nemanja Matic, Marcus Rashford, Anthony Martial, Lindelof, Maguire hate Paul Pogba's guts and wish he left the club because he gets preferential treatment. The guy hasn't even started consistently this season, so there is no evidence of preferential treatment. There is no evidence that he is a virus. There is no evidence that he is to blame, solely to blame, for everything that's going wrong at Manchester United. So I think that's ridiculous. The extremist side of Paul Pogba's world-class wrong. The extremist side of Paul Pogba is a virus, he's trash, he was never good enough, wrong. I think it's somewhere in the middle. We have a player who has the potential to be a world-class talent, but hasn't unlocked that potential because of a combination of mental struggles that he's facing himself, inconsistencies due to the fans and the way they're treating him, and the club, and also a club that's not serious and has not given or delivered on the promises that they promised him when he signed for a new contract. So that's where I stand on it. He came here to win Premier League titles and major trophies. We have not done that. The Europa League and the Carabao Cup, major trophies, not for Manchester United. We're talking Champions Leagues, we're talking Premier Leagues, maybe FA Cups. But the Carabao Cup, fam, come on, fam. Come on. That trophy means nothing. That trophy means nothing. Maybe if you're a Spurs fan, you know, no disrespect. Maybe if you're a Spurs fan, you know, you celebrate it because, hey, it is a trophy. But we shouldn't be lubing up the Carabao Cup as if, you know, that's good enough for Paul Pogba. I said this about Zlatan. Zlatan's not going to look back on his career and be like, wow, guys, you know, of all the amazing things I've done in my career, you know what stands up? That one photo of me holding the Carabao Cup. Nah. It's just not, nah. But anyways, I think it's about time to wrap this video up before it gets too long. I do like to keep these as short as possible for you guys. So Paul Pogba, should he leave? Should he stay? Where do I stand on that just before we end off the video? I honestly think there isn't really a future for Paul Pogba at Manchester United that's healthy and beneficial to both parties, i.e. the club as well as Paul Pogba himself. Because if he stays at Manchester United, first of all, as we've seen, he might not get the game time and he might not fit perfectly or seamlessly into Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's system as some of the other components such as McTominay, Fred, Van der Beek potentially in the future, but we've all seen how he's been treated. I don't think he fits in, and I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer believes that he can play in the same team with Bruno Fernandes unless Matic is able to do the holding role, and that's another issue entirely because there seems to be something wrong with Nemanja Matic. So how do you fit Paul Pogba into a team where Fred and McTominay are playing with Bruno at the 10? Well, you either got to drop Bruno and play Pogba more advanced, or drop one of the wing players and play him as an attacking left midfielder or an attacking right midfielder when he's played in a double pivot. It just hasn't worked. Even when he's played in a double pivot with Matic, it hasn't worked. In the 4-2-3-1, I mean, not in the 4-3-3. So I don't know. I don't see a future in which both parties are happy. I don't think Paul Pogba's happy playing in a deep role. I think he wants someone next to him like N'Golo Kante who can lock things down and give him the freedom to express himself and go forward. Not necessarily play as a 10 like some people think, but as an advanced box-to-box player, like an advanced 8. With the license to do more than the average player would because of his talent and his technical skill. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Paul Pogba will always be played out of position at Manchester United, whether that's because of a lack of coaching prowess from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or just a lack of resources around him to fulfill the full potential. I don't know. That make your own mind up. But the point is, I don't think there's a world in which Paul Pogba is happy playing at Manchester United. And I think if Manchester United continue to try promote this one-sided relationship between them and Paul Pogba, where it's basically us trying to hold on to him, us trying to get the best out of him, us not looking after his mental health and his happiness, I don't see it. Now, as far as Paul Pogba leaving, I don't see any teams besides Juventus and Real Madrid where it makes sense. Number one, because I don't think Paul Pogba can go anywhere else other than that caliber of a team, unless he wants a serious wage reduction or wage cut, because he's rumored to be earning around 300 grand per week at Manchester United. So not many teams can afford him. Forget the transfer fee. Not many teams can afford his wages beyond that. So I think he's got to go to a Juventus or a Real Madrid, mainly because those clubs have shown, but also because I think they had the funds to support this move. I would mention Barcelona, but that doesn't seem to make any sense. I don't think they actually even want him, and I don't think he'd go there. But yeah, he's always talked openly about going to Real Madrid. He's always talked openly about Madrid being a dream move for him. And hey, he came from Juventus, so, that would make sense too. So I don't know. Anyways, it's been your boy Triple M with another video, and I hope you enjoyed that one. Let me know in the comments down below what your opinions are of Paul Pogba at the moment. Always at an international break, Pogba has to say something controversial, and the internet has to break, because that's how it is nowadays. But other than that, enjoy the rest of your day/evening whenever you're watching this, and peace out. Catch you in the next one.